What's up, everyone? John Rettinger from TechnoBuffalo here. This past March was the 5-year anniversary of TechnoBuffalo, and throughout the past 5 years, I've shared little bits of the story that went into how TechnoBuffalo came to be, but I've never told the entire story, what happened at the beginning, what happened at the end, and how we got to where we are now, and how we're going to get to where I hope we're going to be. So if you've ever been interested in starting your own website or starting a business, and you want to hear the pitfalls and sort of what happened, you can learn the actual people that helped us grow and got to where we are. Sit back, relax, grab some popcorn. We might have to cut this video into 2 parts because I got a lot of story to tell. Let's go ahead and get started. So the beginning of the story, I was in marketing long before TechnoBuffalo ever started. I loved technology. I loved just gadgets. I used to just go walk around Best Buy to relax myself after a long day. I just always had a passion for technology. I remember being at work at this software development company running their marketing department. I remember sitting there reading Engadget and CNET and Gizmodo. I'm just having them just constantly reading. I probably spent more time reading those than I did anything else. And this was probably around 2007, 2008. I just loved technology. So this is how the YouTube channel started. I'll sort of give this story very briefly. I wanted to get a Mac. I was using a giant, about 15-inch HP computer at the time. I never used a Mac. I didn't know how to use a Mac. And I figured, you know what, it'll teach me how to use a computer if I force myself to make videos on it. I tried to find videos on YouTube on how to use a computer, and there weren't any. So it was a good excuse. And this time, YouTube was just cat videos and guys getting kicked in the balls. So, you know, it was pretty easy to get recognized and notified on there. So I did that, and it grew, and it got sort of more successful. A couple thousand people started to watch the videos, and I couldn't believe that people actually cared what I had to say. It was just incredible. I responded to every comment, and I was really, really happy about it. But again, back 2008, YouTube, not many people knew about it. It was sort of a fringe kind of thing. I was a little bit embarrassed. I didn't even tell my girlfriend, who became my fiance, my wife at the time, for a while that I was doing it. And then the YouTube Partner Program came around. That's where partners and creators were able to share in their revenue from the videos. And this is something that we all take for granted now, but it didn't exist back then. So I remember finding the gentleman's name who started the partner program. I had about 8,000 subscribers at the time, and I wrote him about a 2-page letter for why I thought I should be accepted. And I surprised I got a personal letter back, and I was accepted into the partner program. So the job I was at, this marketing department, and this is the reason for the story, I hated it. It was a good company, good people, but I hated the job to the point where I'd hope I'd get in like a minor car accident so I wouldn't have to go in. Like, not nothing where anybody got hurt, but like maybe hit a stop sign. So partner program started. I was able to make money from YouTube videos, which is absolutely incredible to me. I mean, I couldn't even believe that was a thing. And I still have a hard time believing that I can make a living from talking about technology. But sort of long story short, very soon I was at almost income parity with the job I hated and making videos for a living. So it became a very clear choice that I was going to do. And this now was about 2008, 2009, sort of really the height of the downturn of the economy. I remember telling my future wife and my future mother-in-law that I was leaving my job in a really bad economy to make videos for a living. And my wife, who's so supportive, said, "I'll never forget, I believe in you, I think you can do it, try it." And I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for her saying that and believing in me. So, that was kind of cool. So I left my job, and I wrote a business plan for TechnoBuffalo. I was reading all these tech websites, and there wasn't any emphasis on video at all. And I figured, you know what, I've got a decent-sized following on video. I've always kind of liked the idea of working for myself. I always had a bit of a problem with authority companies that I worked for in the past. That's a whole other story. So I wrote a business plan, what eventually was going to become TechnoBuffalo. So the plan that I wrote had 3 parts of TechnoBuffalo. Some of you that were around originally, you might recognize this. The first was a social network built into TechnoBuffalo. It was called Buffalo Net, where people could talk about gadgets and what they liked. Second part was subblogs. You could sign up for your own subsite at technobuffalo.com/whatever your username was. And you got sort of a WordPress formatted site. You could put in your AdSense code, and you can actually make money from that without having to worry about hosting your own site. And the third part was the regular sort of blog role that we have right now. So I hired a developer from the software development company that I was working with. Initially I raised $40,000, and it was bootstrapped from friends and family. I remember I initially sold, it was 1% of the company for $5,000, I think was what I ended up doing. And then I started TechnoBuffalo with Brandon Miniman, formerly from Pocket Now. And we each put in $5,000 of our own money, and we sort of raised the other 30. And that was all the money that we had. So we hired a developer from the company I was working for. I could see him, I could talk to him. I didn't know anything about starting a website. I knew nothing about coding. I knew very, very, very little about any of this at all. So we started sort of working to put together this website. And while this was all going on, I went back to school to get my MBA to sort of learn how to best run a company. I did that at night, which is also a side story where I ended up meeting our managing editor, Roy Choi there, who's my friend and classmate. So we're working on this website. Developer is coding it. He put it on a Windows machine. I didn't know what that meant. And we were getting ready to launch. We were going to launch in September of 2009. And we had burned through about $30,000 of our 40. So we didn't have much money left at all. I wasn't taking a salary. I was using the money I was making from the videos to live on. And I think Brandon wasn't taking any sort of salary there either. And I remember hyping up TechnoBuffalo. I used every outlet I had, social media, video, just to be like, check this site out. It's a voice of the consumer. You can create your own website. We've got a social network built in. Like, check it out. We did a little bit of a closed beta. We had 100 users in there, and everything was super smooth. And then launch day came, September of 2009, and we unleashed TechnoBuffalo to the world, and the site crashed epically within about 35 seconds. And it wasn't because we had so much traffic coming to it. It was just the code was so awful and so bad. The server was set up so horribly that the site completely crashed, and I was devastated. I had no backup plan. I mean, I left my job, I was without a net, and I was mortified and I was scared. I used to be able to sleep. When I was in college, I would sleep through my 2 p.m. class. I could sleep like a champ. It was during this time that I developed a really bad insomnia. I couldn't sleep at night. I aged 10 years during this time. And we had no money left either. We had $10,000. So we invested every last cent we had to try and redo the site, essentially, recode it from essentially scratch. And it was frightening. And I had lost so much in the way of reputation. The site had lost so much in the way of reputation because I talked about it and then it wasn't there. And it wasn't until about middle of December 2009, so 3 months later, that we finally got the site up and launched and live for more than a minute. It was really, really bad. 3 months. And the videos talking about TechnoBuffalo launching and TechnoBuffalo not working are still up on the YouTube channel. You can go back and check them out. They are still there, and you can see the worry in my eyes. I remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? It would have been so much easier just to work at my job I was at and collect a paycheck. I kept getting promoted at it, and it was fine. It was a stable job. What am I thinking trying to make a living making videos and trying to start a website from scratch? And those thoughts and doubts, creeped in a lot, and they crept in a lot through the early years. And sometimes, they still creep in. So TechnoBuffalo launched. Brandon was running Pocket Now at the time, and he realized he couldn't split his time between Pocket Now and TechnoBuffalo and sort of give both the attention he thought they deserved. So he left, and I sort of took over 100% of TechnoBuffalo, and we had barely enough money from ads to hire one writer. And that one writer was Sean Ani, whose name you might recognize, who's now our editor-in-chief. And I remember when Brandon left, I talked to Sean, I'm like, we don't have an editor-in-chief now, Brandon was. It's like, we can't hire anybody else. I'm like, do you want the job? Sean had a pretty impressive resume at the time, and still obviously does. And just that thing sort of started what became a really great friendship with Sean, and Sean's been an incredible editor-in-chief and still is to this day. So we had all those other parts of TechnoBuffalo, the social network side and the sublogs, and it was killing us development-wise. It was absolutely we were spending so much time and so much money to try and keep him aboard. It wasn't doing anything for us. So we made the really tough decision to totally axe him, like just axe him completely, and to essentially just become a blog, like we are now. And it was a really tough decision to make, but we did. And the site itself was probably making, on a good month, maybe we had 100,000 page views, if even that. And we were probably making $500 a month. So I still wasn't taking any salary. Brandon wasn't. We used every cent we were making to essentially pay Sean. And that number went up, certainly. Sean had other jobs he was working at the time. And we were just sort of trying to get by, and it was really, really scary. And I remember looking at our bank account one day. This is sort of right after Brandon allowed to me, like, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep the lights on. I can still make videos, but I don't know if the site's going to last. And it was really, really frightening for me and for my girlfriend again, who became my wife. I was so filled with regret, and I didn't know what was going to happen. What's up, everyone? Thank you for watching that video. If you want to see more of the latest and greatest tech news, you can subscribe to our main TechnoBuffalo channel by clicking the button right down below in my pants region, or click on the buttons to your right to see more videos.